You ever seen a dog sniff out a lie? Not drugs, not bombs, just pure human evil wrapped in a smile and a necktie. That's what happened at Roosevelt High, 2 blocks from a corner where kids still dodge bullets on their way to school. Malik Johnson had a plan. Graduate with honors, get out of Chicago's South Side, and never look back. 16, smart as hell, faster than any kid on the track team, and quieter than most. He never made trouble, but trouble has a twisted way of hunting kids like him. It started on a Thursday. The school was buzzing about the upcoming fall festival, a big deal fundraiser with carnival games, food trucks, and performances. Teachers hyped it like it was some kind of salvation for their underfunded programs. Mr. Dorsey, the white history teacher who always called Malik articulate like it was a compliment, had volunteered to supervise the planning committee. Dorsey had a reputation. Not official, nothing written, just a feeling, a twitch in the gut when he got too close. He was always extra friendly to the black girls, always asking the black boys about their fathers. Malik didn't like him. His mama really didn't like him. "You watch that one," she'd said, stirring the gumbo with her good hand. "He talked too sweet. Men like that got rot under the sugar." Malik didn't need the warning. He kept his head down, stayed sharp, but he couldn't dodge everything. The festival was just 3 days away when Principal Waters made the announcement during homeroom. Roosevelt High had won a special security grant from the city. They were getting a K-9 demonstration for the festival, courtesy of CPD's community outreach program. Enter Officer Talia Brooks and her dog, Zero. Talia was black, 30-something, with tattoos on her forearms and eyes that didn't miss a thing. Zero, her partner, was a sleek black German shepherd with steel-colored eyes and scars around his muzzle. He looked like he'd fought a war and won. The students were hyped. Not Malik. Cops made him nervous. Dogs made him silent. He wasn't afraid, just careful. Careful was how you stayed alive. That Friday, the gym transformed into a mock carnival. Posters hung crooked on the walls. Popcorn machines wheezed in the corners. Teachers smiled too wide, pretending everything was fine when it never was. Malik had been assigned to help with setup. Dorsey had made sure of it. "You're reliable," Dorsey had said, hand squeezing Malik's shoulder just a second too long. "I trust you." It felt like a trap. At 11:13 a.m., everything cracked. Malik had gone to the equipment room to grab an extension cord. When he came out, Dorsey was already there, face red, breathing weird. "There's been a theft," he said quickly. "My laptop. Gone. I saw you near my bag, didn't I?" Malik blinked. "No, sir. I didn't touch anything." Dorsey's eyes narrowed like slits. "We'll see what the dog says." Zero was brought in 10 minutes later. The gym had gone silent. Students whispered. Some recorded on their phones. Officer Brooks led Zero by a thin black leash, but it looked like she didn't need to. Zero was alert, nose twitching. Dorsey pointed at Malik. "Start with him." Brooks glanced at Malik, then at Zero. Something cold slid into Malik's spine. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was an ambush. But why? Brooks gave the command. Zero stepped forward, sniffed Malik's shoes, his jeans, his hands. Then he sat. Not a signal of guilt, but of peace. "No alert," Brooks said calmly. "Nothing on him." Dorsey's face twitched. "Check again." "I did," she replied. "Dog's clean. Kid's clean." Students started murmuring. Phones went up. Dorsey's ears turned crimson. It should have ended there. But Dorsey leaned in, dropped his voice. "Check his backpack." Brooks raised an eyebrow. "On what grounds?" "I saw him near it," he insisted. "Just check." Malik's fist curled. "I didn't take your laptop." Brooks sighed and looked at Malik. "You okay with me checking?" Malik hesitated, then nodded. What else could he do? She opened the bag slowly. Inside was a school-issued Chromebook, a copy of Between the World and Me, a peanut butter sandwich. No laptop. But then Brooks paused. Her hand pulled something small from a side pocket, a silver flash drive with a red sticker. Dorsey's eyes lit up. That's mine. That's my backup. Malik stared at it like it was poison. That's not mine. The room froze. Brooks studied the flash drive, then looked at Dorsey. How do you know it's yours? There's a password file on it, he said quickly. My initials are on the drive. Flip it over. Brooks turned it. There were faint letters. JD. Malik felt his world tilt. I didn't. Brooks held up a hand. I believe you. She pocketed the drive. We'll check the fingerprints. Chain of evidence. This isn't over. Dorsey's smile cracked. Later that day, Malik sat alone on the bleachers, watching the carnival go on without him. Officer Brooks found him there. Zero padded beside her, tongue out, like nothing had happened. You did good, she said, sitting down. Malik didn't answer. You know he planted it, right? She added softly. He turned to her. Can you prove it? We're working on it. He's going to get away with it. She didn't deny it. Zero rested his head on Malik's foot. You know, she said, Zero only sits when he feels safe. He sat with you. Malik looked down at the dog. I never feel safe, he said. Brooks nodded. Neither do I. But she reached in her pocket and pulled out something else, a folded piece of paper. It's a log, she said. Security cameras. They caught more than he thinks. Malik took it. His name was on it. So was Dorsey's. And a timestamp 11:02 a.m. Dorsey, alone, near the bag. Still want to keep your head down? Malik stared at the paper. No, he said. I want to fight. And he would. But what he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the flash drive held more than files. It held the secret that would explode the school's lies from the inside. And it all began with a dog who didn't bark. Malik couldn't sleep that night. He lay in bed with the lights off, his phone on his chest, screen glowing every few minutes with messages from classmates. Bro, you good? I saw it. Dorsey's dirty AF. Yo, that cop lady was on your side, FR. That dog, too, LOL. He didn't respond to any of them. The weight in his chest wasn't from fear, it was rage. Boiling, pressurized rage. He'd done everything right. Perfect GPA. No detentions. Volunteer work. Still, one white man's word almost destroyed all of it. And it would have, if not for Zero. A dog had more integrity than half the staff. At 2:47 a.m., Malik sat up, grabbed the folded security log Officer Brooks gave him, and stared at it again. The time, 11:02 a.m. Dorsey alone, entering the supply room. He had lied, deliberately. But why go to that length? Why risk his own job to frame a student? Malik's fingers trembled, not from fear but from clarity. This wasn't random. It was targeted. It was personal. Saturday morning came gray and wet. Malik skipped breakfast, hoodie up, and walked the 8 blocks to the precinct where Officer Brooks worked. He didn't tell his mom. She wouldn't have let him go. The station was quiet. The front desk officer raised an eyebrow when Malik walked in. You here to file a report? No, Malik said. I need to talk to Officer Brooks. It's about the flash drive. She appeared 10 minutes later in jeans and a hoodie, sipping a gas station coffee. You came, she said, almost surprised. I need to know what's on it. Brooks nodded slowly. You're not supposed to, but I had a feeling you'd ask. She led him past desks and bulletin boards into a side room, closed the door behind them. I didn't check it until last night, she said. Chain of custody rules. But once I got permission, she pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, then handed it to him. On the screen was a list of folders, student profiles, surveillance logs, private recordings, and one labeled Festival. Malik opened the last one. Inside, 5 video files. The first was titled, Practice Run 1_Carnival. He pressed play. A blurry angle from what looked like Dorsey's classroom camera. A group of students, black and brown, mostly standing near desks. Dorsey's voice off screen. Now, If we simulate a theft scenario, we'll know how the dog responds to fabricated alerts. This is educational. Malik stared. They knew, he said quietly. Wait, Brooks said. Watch the next one. The second video was clearer. Dorsey crouched over a desk. He held the silver flash drive. I'll plant it in his backpack, he whispered. He won't see it coming. Then we'll see how far the equal system goes. Brooks paused the video. This wasn't just about you, she said. He's been running experiments. On students. She nodded, setting them up, seeing who the system protects and who it doesn't. Race-based psychological experiments. Unapproved. Unreported. And the school let this happen? That you didn't know, she said, but her tone said otherwise. He picked me, Malik said, because I'm the safe target. Quiet. Obedient. I wouldn't make noise. Brooks's jaw clenched. He wanted you to break. That was the point. Malik's hands balled into fists. What happens now? We bring it to internal affairs. And the board. You think they'll listen? She didn't answer. But Malik already knew. He left the precinct with a USB copy Brooks gave him. It wasn't official, she called it insurance. At home, he barely made it through dinner. His mother asked why his hand was shaking. I'm tired, he mumbled. But his mind was already moving. This wasn't about getting even anymore. It was about making sure Dorsey couldn't do it again. Sunday morning, Malik posted a message in the group chat for the school's Black Student Alliance. Emergency meeting. Today, 4 p.m. My garage. I have proof. By 4:15, 11 students were crowded in his garage. Some brought chips, one had a Bluetooth speaker. Malik stood with a laptop connected to his mom's old TV. He showed them everything. The videos, the logs, the file named Festival that outlined which students Dorsey had targeted and why. The room went silent. Bro, said Jamil, a junior, voice tight. He called me in for detention last month. Swore I cheated on a quiz. He made me re-record my entire oral presentation, said Carmen, eyes wide. He said my accent was distracting. A fire lit behind their eyes. Malik looked at them. We go public. Tuesday morning. Before school. In front of the media. You sure? Asked Daniela. We'll get heat. Then we burn back, Malik said. They agreed. That night, Malik drafted a letter. Not just about Dorsey, but about Roosevelt High, about the system, about silence. He sent it anonymously to local news stations, tagged activists on social media, and posted a countdown. Chicago students speak Tuesday, 7 a.m. Roosevelt High. The post went viral within hours. By Monday night, the school board issued a vague statement about taking allegations seriously. Principal Waters called an emergency staff meeting. And Mr. Dorsey? He didn't show up to work. Tuesday dawned cold and bright. Malik stood on the school steps with a bullhorn in one hand and Zero on a leash beside him. Officer Brooks stood nearby, not in uniform. Dozens of students packed in behind him. News cameras, microphones, phones. He stepped up. My name is Malik Johnson, he said. I'm 16 years old. I'm a student at Roosevelt High. And I was framed. The crowd went quiet. He laid it all out. The planted evidence, the footage, the list of names. He called it a psychological study, Malik said. I call it abuse. And I'm not the only one. Carmen came next. Then Jamil. One by one, students stepped forward and told their truths. The press recorded it all. By 10 a.m., Dorsey was suspended. By 2 p.m., he was under investigation. And by the end of the week, the Chicago Tribune ran the headline. Chicago teacher accused of targeting black students in unauthorized psychological experiments. Malik's face was on the cover. So was Zero's. But behind the victory, the fight was just beginning. Because systems don't crumble in a day. And some teachers weren't happy. Neither were some parents. Malik got called a liar. A troublemaker. Race baiter. He got threats, but he also got letters. From students across the country. From educators. From civil rights attorneys. And most of all from kids like him. One read, "I thought it was just me. Thank you for showing it's not." It didn't fix everything, but it cracked the silence. And in the silence that followed, something new began to grow. 2 weeks passed. The halls of Roosevelt High were quieter, like the school was holding its breath. Mr. Dorsey's classroom stayed locked, his nameplate removed. Students whispered in clumps, voices low but charged. Some teachers acted like nothing had happened. Others couldn't look Malik in the eye. The investigation made headlines, but not everyone believed the truth. Rumors bloomed like mold. It was staged. He planted the flash drive himself for attention. That dog was trained to fake it. But the facts held. The footage, the logs, the testimonies, and something more was starting to change, something harder to name. A counselor Malik had never met pulled him aside after sixth period. "I just wanted to say what you did took guts," she said. "You ever need someone to talk to, my door's open." He thanked her, then walked away, unsure how to feel. People thought courage was some loud, movie-style thing. But for Malik, it wasn't. It was the weight in his chest he carried every day. The decision to speak even when his voice cracked. The quiet stares he met in the hallway and didn't look away from. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling that Dorsey wasn't done. On the outside, he was suspended, being investigated by the board and the city. But Malik knew men like Dorsey didn't go quietly. They waited. They regrouped. That Friday, Officer Brooks called him after school. "You sitting down?" she asked. "Do I need to be?" They cracked open the encrypted folders on the flash drive. "It's worse than we thought." She sent him the files. Buried deep in layers of code were audio recordings, dozens of them. Dorsey had recorded one-on-one conversations with students for months. Most were from Black or Latino students. Some were crying. Some were angry. One file was just the sound of silence for 10 full minutes until a voice whispered, "Can I go now?" Malik didn't sleep that night. On Saturday, he met with Brooks again. She slid a manila envelope across the table. "Some of the board members are trying to settle," she said. Quietly. "They're scared this blows up the school's reputation." "What does that mean?" Malik asked. "It means they want you to shut up. Maybe throw a scholarship your way. Maybe make you student of the month." Malik stared at the envelope. He didn't touch it. "I don't want a scholarship to stay quiet," he said. "I want change." Brooks smiled, slow and tired. "That's what I hoped you'd say." The envelope stayed on the table. That afternoon, Malik and the Black Student Alliance planned their next step. They weren't done. Not even close. They created a petition demanding a full public release of all investigation findings, mandatory anti-bias training for all staff, student representatives on the school disciplinary board, funding for a peer-led mental health program. Within 72 hours, the petition had 7,000 signatures. News outlets called again. The school board called a town hall. The night of the meeting, the auditorium was packed. Malik walked up with his speech folded in his pocket. Not because he needed to read it, but because he needed to feel it there. Like armor. He looked out at the crowd. He saw his mother, arms crossed. Officer Brooks, near the back. Zero, lying at her feet like a sentinel. He unfolded the page and began. "I was set up. You all know that now. But what you might not understand, it didn't shock me. It didn't surprise me. Because this system was never built for me." The room went still. It wasn't built for students who look like me, who speak like me, who carry 1,000 expectations the second we walk in the door. I was lucky. I had a dog, a cop who listened, a video. But what if I didn't? What happens to the ones without proof? He paused. Dorsey wasn't the problem. He was a symptom. The problem is silence. The problem is who you protect when nobody's watching. The board members shifted in their seats. I don't want pity. I want accountability. I want my school to stop punishing us for existing. I want teachers who see us not threats. I want justice that doesn't need a flash drive to be believed. When he stepped back, the room was quiet for 2 seconds. Then the applause came louder than he expected. Not everyone clapped, but enough. The board agreed to meet the petition demands partially. They begin with a public release and training. The rest was under consideration. Malik knew it wasn't a victory. It was a crack in the wall. But even cracks can bring a house down. In the weeks that followed, Roosevelt High changed. Slowly, messily. Some teachers left. Others stayed and started listening. A new counselor was hired. Officer Brooks became an official advisor to the school's new Equity Council. And Malik? He walked a little taller. Not because the weight was gone, but because he knew how to carry it now. One cold morning, 2 months later, he found a letter in his locker. No name, no return address. It read, I was in Dorsey's class last year. I told him my mom was undocumented. He made me cry and recorded it. I never told anyone. I saw you speak. I think maybe it's okay to tell someone now. Thank you. Malik folded it up and put it in his wallet. He never told anyone about the letter, but it was the moment he knew he had made a difference. Even if no statue got built, even if the news moved on. Weeks turned to months. Malik applied to colleges. He wrote about the flash drive in his essay. Not the drama, not the press. He wrote about the day Zero sat down beside him. He wrote about how trust doesn't always come from humans. How sometimes the ones who listen best don't speak at all. The essay won him a full scholarship. But that wasn't the real prize. The real prize was walking down the hallway of Roosevelt High, his senior year, and seeing a group of freshmen laugh out loud without looking over their shoulders. It was Carmen organizing a peer therapy group and getting faculty approval. It was Jamil tutoring kids who used to get suspended for talking back. It was the silence after the storm finally being peace. And one afternoon in May, when the sun poured golden through the cafeteria windows, Malik looked out across the lawn and saw Officer Brooks walking toward him. Zero trotted beside her, tail high. She handed Malik a folded note. From the city. You've been nominated for a Youth Civic Award, she said. You want it? Malik laughed. Do I gotta give a speech? Brooks grinned. Of course. Then yeah, he said. I want it. She nodded. Zero nudged Malik's hand. He scratched behind the dog's ears. Thanks, Malik said softly. Zero sat. The same way he did the day he chose the truth. And somehow, that felt like the end of one story and the beginning of another. The ceremony was held in a glass-walled building downtown, just across from the lake, where the sun set low and gold over the skyline like a quiet benediction. Malik had never been to a place like it. Polished floors, cameras flashing, people in tailored suits shaking hands with purpose. He stood at the edge of it all, dressed in the best blazer his mother could afford and a borrowed tie. Zero sat at his side, tongue lolling out happily, completely unfazed by the attention. Are you ready for your big moment? Officer Brooks asked, appearing behind him in her formal dress uniform. Malik exhaled. Honestly? No. Brooks smiled. That's the only kind of ready that matters. They called his name. Applause rose as he stepped onto the stage. The mayor handed him a plaque etched with the words, Youth Civic Hero Award for Bravery, Integrity, and Advocacy in the Face of Injustice. Malik didn't look at the cameras. He looked at his mother-seated front row, cheeks wet, smiling like a woman who had waited her whole life to see this, and then at the dog who'd been there from the start. And then he spoke. I didn't plan to be here. This started because someone tried to break me. But what they didn't know was that I'd already survived worse. He paused, letting the words settle. I'm not special. I just got seen. Most kids like me don't get that chance. Most never make it to a microphone. That's the truth. But I think it doesn't have to be. We can build something better. A world where we don't have to prove our innocence just to be believed. When he finished, the standing ovation felt like thunder. But later, when the cameras were off and the suits had drifted into catered conversations, Malik stood near the edge of the reception, plate in hand, staring out at the lake. A voice broke his thoughts. Didn't think they gave awards for being a pain in the ass, someone said. He turned. Principal Waters. The woman looked tired, like she'd aged a decade in 6 months. But her expression wasn't cruel, it was restrained. They don't, Malik said. They gave it to me for not giving up. Waters nodded. You shook this place up. It needed shaking. She didn't argue. I failed you, she said after a pause. I let Dorsey run unchecked. I didn't listen when I should have. I saw the signs and looked away. Malik swallowed. You still can fix it. I'm trying. He nodded. Then don't stop. Waters looked away. 10 years ago, I thought I could change this district. But it changes you first. That's the trick, Malik said. You changed back harder. That made her laugh, quiet and bitter, but real. Before she left, she added, the board wants to name the new Student Equity Center after you. Malik didn't answer right away. But after she left, he turned to Brooks and said, tell them to name it after the students. Not me. Call it the Unheard. Brooks raised an eyebrow. That's cold and poetic. They'll remember it, he said, and they did. Senior year ended with Malik as valedictorian. He gave his graduation speech under a June sun that refused to quit, with his classmates fanning themselves and his mother sobbing through every word. He talked about systems and scars. He talked about silence. He talked about zero, too. Sometimes the loudest truth comes from someone who doesn't say anything at all, he said. Sometimes it comes from a dog who just sits beside you until the world stops shaking. That got a standing ovation. Zero barked once like he knew. Later that summer, Malik packed for Howard University. He didn't take much, just the essentials. Clothes, laptop, letters, and the old flash drive, now wiped clean and blank, but still humming with memory. Brooks showed up the day before he left, Zero riding shotgun in her cruiser. I wanted to say goodbye properly, she said, handing him a small wrapped box. Inside was a polished dog tag engraved with Zero Protector, Truth Teller, Friend. Malik blinked hard. Can I keep it? He asked. Brooks nodded. He's yours now. Officially retired. Department signed off on it. Malik knelt down, and Zero leaned into his chest, tail wagging slow and soft. I don't deserve him, Malik whispered. You earned him, Brooks said. He chose you. Don't forget that. The ride to D.C. was long. His mother drove most of the way, narrating the road trip like it was a gospel pilgrimage. Zero sat in the back seat, head resting on Malik's backpack. They reached campus at sunset. Howard University gleamed ahead like a promise kept. Malik stepped out, backpack on one shoulder, and looked up at the long red brick buildings and the tall clock tower. Then he looked down at Zero, who was staring up at him like, what now, partner? Now it begins. 3 years later, Malik stood on the steps of City Hall, older, broader, voice deeper but eyes still sharp with fire. The press surrounded him again, not because of a scandal but because of a proposal. He held the bill in his hand, the Student Protection and Equity Act, legislation that would require school systems across the state to implement independent bias reporting structures, protected student ombudsmen, and transparency around faculty disciplinary records. He spoke calmly, powerfully. He spoke like someone who had been a child in the storm and decided to become the storm's end. Zero sat beside him, now graying around the muzzle, but no less regal. The bill passed, unanimously. One final story. It happened on a random Tuesday years later. Malik was visiting his old high school, invited to speak to the freshman class. He walked the halls like a memory passing through muscle and brick. The place looked smaller now. Not less important, just more human. As he passed by the counselor's office, a student stepped out. Young, black, nervous. Maybe 15. "You're him, right?" the student asked. Malik smiled. "Depends who you mean. The guy with the dog. The one who got Dorsey fired." Malik nodded. The student hesitated. "I think something's happening to my friend. A teacher's been acting weird. We don't know what to do." Malik didn't hesitate. "You report it." Loudly. "Together." The student nodded slowly. "Hey," Malik added. "Want to pet Zero?" The kid's face lit up. "For real." Zero nudged forward like he already understood. As the student knelt, Malik stood back, watching. And for the first time in a long time, he felt a real, full peace. Not the kind that comes after the fight, but the kind that makes the fight worth it. The kind that says, "You changed something," and it stayed changed. And in the quiet of that hallway, far from ceremonies and headlines, a kid laughed as a retired police dog licked his face. In the world, at least this little piece of it was finally safe. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.